Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we're taking a look at the case of Jaryd Atadero, who disappeared on October 2nd of 1999. He was 3 years old and he and his 7-year-old sister were joining a hiking group that were hiking along the Big South Trail in Colorado. Initially, they were going to go see a fish hatchery, which the father had let them go to because they were very interested in that. But the group, without the father there, decided about halfway through that they actually wanted to go hiking. And so they took the 2 young children along. Now, the 2 children, a brother and sister, were with a female, I believe, one of the adults of the group. And at one point, Jaryd ran ahead. He encountered a couple of fishermen and asked about if there were bears in the area, and the fishermen had just seen another hiking group go by, so they thought that he was part of that group, so they didn't actually find it very suspicious that he was just there by himself. He went ahead after that. Now, the group that he was with at one point heard screams in the distance, and it sounded like either somebody was being attacked or somebody was playing. And they found out that Jaryd was no longer with them, and they also couldn't find him. They spent about an hour looking for him while somebody else went back to the camp to tell the father that they couldn't find Jaryd. So, who of course was very surprised that they were even hiking in the first place, because he hadn't agreed to that, particularly because they were both very young, at 7 and 3 years respectively. Now, he wouldn't be found, or at least anything of his wouldn't be found until 2003, when 2 people went hiking there on May 3rd. They initially found his shoes and also some other clothing, and the actual remains were found close to those articles of clothing at quite a high altitude, about 500 feet, on a bit of a rocky ledge type situation, if I saw the pictures correctly. It's unlikely that he would have gone up there unassisted, and people initially expected a mountain lion, but the attacks, or at least the damage to the clothes, do not appear to match that of a mountain lion attack. Now, if you see a picture of the clothes, you can see that they're very torn up, but this is apparently, according to some experts, because of birds trying to get like some of that material and using that for their nests and stuff like that. One of the pant legs of the pants were pretty much completely missing. And a very interesting thing to note as well about the location is that they had actually sent a helicopter in that area up to check out if they could find anything, and the helicopter had gotten into trouble and actually crashed, meaning if they had not gotten into any issues, they may have found him sooner, but for whatever reason the helicopter did not manage it and crashed, and some people were pretty badly hurt as a result of that, but fortunately nobody actually passed away from that crash. And what else is interesting is that the site with his clothing and his remains is actually fairly close to the camp itself. So we don't really know too much about this case. We only know that they were there because their father had joined a Christian singles group that were out on a hike there. And like I said, he only really okayed for them to go to the hatchery, and the group itself had a spur-of-the-moment decision to go hiking. Now, the trail they went on is a fairly well-known trail, which doesn't mean that it's an easy trail and that you should take your small children there, but I think that they were under the impression that it would be safe. So I don't think, personally, that there was anything on the group's behalf that they were like planning something for the young children, but of course we don't know anything really. So we're going to use the tarot to take a look at this case. Today we're starting off with the Tarot of the Magical Forest, which is this one's currently on the table. And for any further questions, we're moving on to the vice versa deck, which is this one with the cards with the double sides. As per usual, I'm just going to start shuffling these cards. As soon as I have about a screen full of cards, I'm going to stop and take a look. Without much further ado, let's get started. Okay, so it is summer and there is a big fly buzzing around the house. So if you hear any buzzing in the background, then that's what it is. Anyway, so let's take a look at what we've got here. We've got quite a lot of cards about struggling, maybe also getting lost and taking some actions which may not have been for the best. In any case, let's start at the top left. We see a 5 of Wands in reverse, we see the Lovers in reverse, and the 4 of Swords in reverse. Now the 5 of Wands is a struggle card, a sparring card. It could be that they were perhaps having an internal struggle. We see here the Lovers over here in reverse and with a snake in the tree. Hope you guys can see that there. There's like a little bite there. And of course the 4 of Swords. Now this to me strikes me as he was a 3-year-old boy and he was fairly adventurous, so this sounds like he was struggling against having to stick behind with the slow people, so to speak. Like he's got tons of energy, he doesn't really like being told what to do. He could have very easily have decided that sticking around with the people that he was with was boring and he wanted to go ahead and explore further ahead. That's what this seems to be pointing towards, like the disharmony there, at least internally disharmony with the people that he was with, and perhaps the internal struggle of I want to go and take a look at this, I want to be there first, I want to see this first, I want to go find bears or whatever it is that he may have thought about doing. So we see him having an issue with that, being still and going at the pace that other people were dictating for him. It looks as though. We also see here the 7 of Cups and the Chariot in reverse and the 8 of Pentacles in reverse and the Star. Okay, I'm gonna grab these two first. So 7 of Cups is wishes, wishful thinking, perhaps also thinking of all the things that he could be doing, could be seeing right now, and made him make a hasty decision to charge off, it looks as though. So this being dissatisfied with being stuck with a bunch of people and not going his own way or his own pace right there is now materializing in him daydreaming about all the good things that he could be seeing and making the decision to charge off. Now it's not a very well thought out decision. We can see that with the 8 of Pentacles over here, and then we have the Star up ahead. So this sounds a little bit like I said, it wasn't really thought out, but also he feels in that moment to be the star of his own show. Like he's out there on an adventure, this is exactly what he wanted. And we see here the Sun on the second row as well, so he's really enjoying himself. We have the Star and the Sun, so in this moment he's really in his element. He really likes being out there. He's not really thought things through, but it doesn't really matter because he's on this great big adventure and he's going to go see all sorts of wonderful things, and he's feeling really good about that. So we're already on the second row. Let's take a look what else we've got. Then we have the Page of Wands and the Emperor. Page of Wands is in reverse, the Emperor is upright, and then we have the Hermit in reverse. Okay, so more rash actions, and also, once again, not really thought through, but we do see here the Emperor's influence, so there may have been somebody who has said something about the environment. This kind of reminds me of another reading that I did a while ago about somebody else who got lost. That sense of, oh, I've heard about this, or I've heard about that. Oh, that was the case of the guy in New Zealand or Australia. I think it was in Australia. I don't know, either way, that's a different case. But this kind of reminds me of that. Like, he may have heard something about the trail, he may have heard something about the area. Somebody may have come through in his thoughts, like, oh, if you go here, you need to keep an eye on that. Or if you see these plants, then something else is happening, or something along those lines. Some advice that somebody imparted on him appears to have appeared, either that or maybe this is an encounter with somebody who may have told him a thing or two about be careful about this, be careful about that. So he may have run into somebody who tried to advise him, but we still see this very gung-ho energy with the Page of Wands in reverse. Page of Wands, of course, being very fiery and just out there literally chasing adventure. And the Emperor, no, I already had that one, the Hermit in reverse, which points towards perhaps not heeding their advice and also not taking a moment to think about things. And that's at all not strange because, of course, we are talking about a 3-year-old who has a lot to learn still. So Somebody may have given him some advice, but he probably didn't think he needed it, so he is continuing with his rash actions. We do see Temperance next, followed by the Knight of Swords, and this is Justice in reverse. Okay, so Temperance would normally be trying to strike a balance with something, and he may have at one point thought, oh wait, now I might be getting in a little bit of trouble, although with this Knight of Swords over here, who is also charging ahead, he may have encountered some issues, decided that he needed to have some type of balance or try to figure something out, thought he picked the right direction and then went really, really hard on that direction. And instead of encountering victory, he encountered what could only be called injustice. So perhaps the action that he chose led to exactly the opposite result of what he was hoping to achieve. Like, it's almost like if somebody encounters like a chasm somewhere, for instance, and they look at it and go, oh wait, this is kind of tricky, I'm gonna have to figure out how to get across this, and they look at it and they think that if they run and jump they're gonna make it. That's kind of what this looks like, and then it ends up not being the case. So this looks like wait a minute, I need to figure this out, and then choosing the exact wrong course of action that led to problems. Now, we don't know what he encountered, so it could be just about anything. He could have tried to vault across a chasm. He could have also encountered some paw prints that he may have recognized or thought he recognized and then chose the exact wrong action. Anything, really. So let's see what happened after that. We're going to go on to the vice versa tarot. So we see him taking a moment to think about things and then thinking that he's making the right decision, which turned out to be the wrong one. What else can we see about what happened next? Whoopsie, lots of cards. Okay. There's this one, there's a bunch on my lap, we got a lot, there's you, and there is some on the floor. Now this is also a lot of energy to just kind of push all these cards out of the deck, so it's almost like the same type of energy that he may have had while on his trip. So we have here, I think this is the Queen of Cups. Yep, there she is. In reverse. So Queen of Cups energy is somebody who is very caring, very nurturing. It's almost a little bit like the Empress in the way of like emotions, very much focused on emotions. So this could be, I feel like this card is showing him feeling very much alone, like without care, like there's nobody there to care for him, and maybe he had a very like emotional breakdown and there was nobody there to comfort him. There was no comfort for him to be had. We also have the Knight of Swords, which is a lot of worry. We also have the Four of Cups, but we're looking at the distance, the bad side of the Four of Cups, so to speak, because we see options in the distance that are out of reach, and also we're out of options on the beach as well. So this looks like he got in some serious trouble here. And he at least had a moment to consider his situation. We also have here the King of Swords. Is it the King? Yeah, it's the King. And he is also facing away. We're looking at a lot of thunder up ahead, and I think this is also part of him figuring out that he's in a lot of trouble right here. This could all happen in an instant, by the way. Maybe that's why all the cards just jumped out. Like, I don't know if this was like a longer period of time that he was considering all these things, but it could be just a split moment. Like, if you really find yourself in trouble, some people have like this hot cold sensation, like, oh no, this is really not good, I can't fix this. And this could be very well what we're seeing over here. Now here we have the High Priestess, where we're looking at the backside of the High Priestess, like almost seeing something behind the curtain, so to speak, behind the veil. This may be a sudden opening up of the realities of the world. Like usually when we walk around, we don't expect anything bad to happen. We have a certain idea of what the world is like, and then something fundamentally wrong happens, and then we're like, oh wait, all the stuff that I used to believe is out the window, because that is apparently not my situation right now. So this feels very much like being very much aware of the situation and being very aware that we are on the wrong side of the situation. drawn to look at the keys over there, almost like offering a choice. Do you go left or do you go right? But not having enough information to make the correct choice. We have the Page of Cups in reverse and backwards, so that's again making choices or surprises that you were not expecting, and also have a very bad outcome. Particularly for the emotional side of things, we have the Nine of Cups in reverse, so that is even more pointing towards being very not okay with this whole situation. And as well as this is the less opulent side of the Nine of Cups. Normally you would see like somebody is really well, has done really well for himself and feeling pretty good about that, having a great solid base. But we're looking at these cups over here and the void behind it. And once again, we're looking at a woman with a horn of plenty that appears to be empty, or at the very least is not being tipped out. So there's nothing being given and there's nothing left to take. So I feel like he was very much confronting the situation as well as he could at 3 years old, obviously. We have here the Devil in reverse and upside down. So this is definitely outside of his control, this situation right here. There's no no influence at all, but he is tied to whatever it is that's happening right here. There's no way out. There's no way he can influence the situation. He can't run away. That's just it. Like, it's end of the road. You can also see like all the fire over there, and there's like a book burning in the bottom there. It's like this is the end of the road, like I said. So we're not seeing too much in the ways of what is causing this, so maybe you can get a few cards about that. So far we're just seeing that he can encounter some very severe problems, but not how or who or why or what. Did we get anything about that? Any hints as to what happened to him, what he encountered? Oops. Okay, we have here the Ten of Pentacles sideways. I'm just gonna say it like this, but I asked for hints and we get a picture of a guy with a dog. Now this dog is fairly docile, so maybe he encountered an animal that he thought would be docile, but it turned out to be a wild animal and he was not met with the same level of friendliness that most animals tend to show in the civilized world. So it does look like he may have encountered some type of wild animal. And we have the Two of Swords here, which usually being of two minds. He may have doubted about that at first. This may be the part where he was like, oh, I don't know, this over here with the Temperance card, like, I don't know what this is, but maybe it's good. Maybe it's bad. I mean, small children tend to see the world as a big, happy, friendly place for the most part, so maybe he initially thought this doesn't look very much like a normal dog or cat or whatever, but maybe it's still friendly, and that may have led him into trouble. What else can we see about that? This one wants to fall. Okay, so that's also the end of the fun right there with the sun in reverse. So this is where the youthful enthusiasm is out the window, like he's now confronted with something that he was not expecting, and all the joy that he had previously being out on his adventure is now gone, soured, because reality has caught up. Moving back to the Magical Forest deck. Okay, so how does it end? Because we know that it ended, but not so much how. Can we get anything about that? Now, if it was a wild animal, I don't expect we're going to see anything from their perspective, obviously, because I don't think the tarot can give us a view from the point of view of a wild animal, but maybe we can get a little bit more about the circumstantial situation, the surrounding situation. Whoop. This one jumped out. Three of Cups, okay, so this is definitely not a harmony card. This is the exact opposite of harmony. This definitely points towards him not having the welcoming of this particular animal or whatever it was that they were expecting. Like I said earlier, this dog did not turn out to be friendly as they may have thought. Whoops, there go lots of cards. We have you and you. And you. Alright, well. The Tower, the 5 of Pentacles, and the 10 of Swords. So that is the abruptness of a very negative situation presenting itself, the realization that you are very lost and without all the resources that you may have found or expected to be there, to be granted, is no longer there. We have the 10 of Swords over here. It's normally like a Dark Sword Dawn card. This is a heavy regret, and also perhaps not seeing any positive outcome. Normally they would be looking at the dawn, but I'm looking at a dusk situation almost, because you can see that there's a very small sun in the top right, and it is a very gloomy day. Normally you would be looking at the light that is about to shine on the world, but this is more like the light is leaving. So this is once again a realization that some very bad things have happened and they're irreversible as per the Tower. I'm actually feeling that there aren't any more cards left to draw in this situation, so I'm gonna leave that. So we're looking at having been so enthusiastic about being on an adventure that they decided to ditch the people that were too slow for their liking, going off on their own adventure, encountering some issues there, potentially encountering some animals perhaps that they thought might be not as wild as expected, and then having to deal with the fact that they are definitely not what he expected them to be, which led to a very unfortunate and very disharmonious, very sad Tower situation with not much of an outlook to follow. So that is what I'm seeing for Jaryd. I hope you found that interesting at least. In any case, make sure to leave a like or a comment on the video. That would be very helpful. Also, if you have another case you would want me to take a look at, make sure to click on the Google Forms link in the description so that you can leave it there for me to look at. I hope to see you in another video. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.